This story is a reminder that for whatever you do not forget to pray. Sister Becky had always believed that peace was a gift you carry, not something the world would give to you. It showed in the way she spoke and in the way she raised her children, the quiet strength that followed her everywhere she went. When she stepped out of the airport in Lagos with her children after years in the UK, the air felt different,
Mom,
of course.
it feels
It was
different,
warm and
but I
familiar.
like it.
It was also alive. Her children looked around with curious eyes, taking in everything at once. "Welcome home," she said softly, smiling as if those words carried more meaning than just arrival. And then they went to the family house. Back at the family compound, the atmosphere was lively. Relatives gathered, neighbors stood by, laughter filled the air. People admired their children openly. "These ones are well trained," one of the women said. "You've really done well for yourself, Becky. These children do not even look like they were raised abroad. They have so much respect for others." Her son stood respectfully, greeting elders properly. Her daughter smiled politely, helping people where she could. Everything about them reflected discipline and love. Among the smiling face stood Aunty Olama. She embraced Becky tightly, laughing as expected. She complimented the children, nodding approvingly, but behind her eyes, something unsettling lingered. Later that evening, as the compound grew quieter and the laughter faded into distant echo, Aunty Olama stood alone, watching Becky and her children from a distance. They were still laughing together, carefree and untouched. Her lips tightened. "Everywhere they
God,
go,
am I a
it's
stone?
them they keep
Everywhere
praising,"
they
she
go,
murmured
praise
under her
this,
breath.
praise this.
It wasn't
Let's see how
just
far
what
she
she
can
saw,
rub all this
it
on
was
her
what she
faces.
felt. A quiet comparison she couldn't shake, a question that came rising in her chest. Why her?
God, am
That
I not
question
your
followed
child
her
too?
into the night. In her
Or
room,
is she better
darkness
than me?
wrapped around her like a second skin. No light, no distraction, just her thoughts growing louder. "Am I not trying?" she whispered. "Am I not also praying?" Her voice trembled at first,
God,
but
am I
slowly it
not your
changed.
child too?
"Oh, is she better than
Or
me?"
is she better
Silence
than me?
answered her. And in that silence, something shifted. Instead of surrendering those thoughts, she held onto them, fed them, let them grow roots. "She thinks she's blessed," she said again,
She
this
thinks
time
she's
with a sharper
untouchable.
edge. "Let me see how far that
See how
blessing will
far
go.
her God
And let
can
me
go.
see how much our God will actually
See how
save
far
her."
her God.
By the time Becky and her children returned to the UK weeks later, nothing seemed wrong on the surface. The visit had gone well. Pictures had been taken. Goodbyes were emotional. Life continued. Back in the UK, everything fell into its usual rhythm. School, work, routine, and then came a special day. It was her son's graduation. The house was filled with excitement, and that morning, clothes were carefully laid out, shoes were carefully polished. The atmosphere carried that kind of joy that came only from watching something you've prayed for finally happen. "My son," Becky said, adjusting his collar, her eyes filled with pride. "Look at you." He laughed slightly. "Mom, please, don't start crying today." "I'll cry," she replied, smiling. "I've earned it." The ceremony was beautiful. Smiles, pictures, laughter, the kind of moment that stays in your memory forever. But somewhere in the middle of that joy, something quietly went wrong. At first, it was subtle. Her son paused. His smile faded just slightly. "Mom," he said, his voice low, uncertain. She turned immediately. "What is it?" "I feel strange." There's something in the way he said it that made her heart to skip. Before she could ask anything else, his body swayed and then he collapsed. The world around them exploded into confusion. Voices overlapped. There was panic everywhere. Everybody was trying to know what was happening. She shouted, called the ambulance. "Emergency! What's happening?" Everyone was just asking questions and everything was in chaos. Her heart pounding but her mind trying to stay together. "Daniel, look at me," she said, holding his face. "Stay with me," she said, but his eyes were already fading. At the hospital, everything moved really fast. Doctors rushed in. Machines were everywhere, connecting. Questions were being asked. What happened? Was he sick? "No," Becky kept saying. "He was fine. Everything was perfectly fine. We were just having his graduation ceremony," and then he collapsed. But the more time passed, the less things made no sense. Test after test showed nothing. No clear illness, no explanation, yet his condition kept getting worse. The beep of machines became the only constant sound, a reminder that something fragile was sleeping. Becky stood beside his bed, watching, listening and thinking, and then she knew. Not in a way she could explain logically, but deep within her spirit, something connected. This wasn't ordinary. She reached for his hand, holding it firmly. Her voice was quiet at first. Father, it wasn't a loud prayer. It wasn't dramatic. It was deep. I don't understand what is happening, she continued. Her eyes fixed on him, but I know you are God.
Please.
Tears rolled down her face,
Don't take
but her
him.
voice didn't break.
Have mercy,
You gave him to me,
please.
and I refuse to lose him this way. Her grip tightened. No weapon formed against my son will ever prosper. Something in the atmosphere began to shift. Every hand raised against him, every plan in darkness. Her voice grew stronger. I cancel it now. The machine suddenly reacted. The steady rim became unstable. Doctors rushed in again. We are losing him. The words cut through the room like a blade. Claire, his body checked. Again, Claire. Another shock. And then a long continuous sound. Flat, still, and silent. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. She closed her eyes and spoke again, more quietly now, but with even greater certainty. God, you are not done with my son. He cannot die like this. I will not lose my son this way. Miles away in Nigeria, Aunty Olama woke suddenly from her sleep. A sharp pain gripped her chest. She gasped, her breath uneven. What is this? She whispered, panic rising. Something felt wrong, not physically, but deeper than that. Back in the hospital, a faint sound broke the silence. A single beep, then another. A nurse looked up suddenly and shouted, Doctor! The line moved again, slowly, then stronger. We have a pulse, she said. Energy returned to the room instantly. The machines picked up. It was unbelievable. Life was coming back. Becky opened her eyes. Tears fell freely now, but her face carried something else. Relief. It was gratitude and it was victory. And that's when Aunty Olama realized that we cannot harm the son of a praying mother. And whether she liked it or not, that was going to stay with her for a very long time. And there are forces you simply cannot overcome.